everyone, and welcome to the Woman's Cave. Or is it the Ladies Tale podcast? I think this is the Ladies Tale podcast for sure. You know, this is what happens when you have 4 podcasts. You're always confused about which one you're going to put it on. And then when you finally do put it on one, and then you hear the introduction, you recognize it doesn't match at all. And you're like, well, maybe no one will notice. So far, we have got no complaints that they don't match. But hey, so, pick 2 out of the 4, you got a 50-50 shot. That's what I say. Anyway, you're not here to hear about me, right? No, you're here to hear that we wrote books. Yes, go figure. We wrote books. Authors write books. It feels obvious. I shouldn't have said that, but that's not important. So this And I Thought Divorce Was Bad, and I Thought Being Grown Up Was Easy, If Only I Were Me, a memoir in verse, Widow's Web, Widow's Debt, and Foreign Coffee. You can get all 6 of those books wherever you get your audiobooks. And just in case you wanted to know how many books we had in general, because, you're nosy like that, we have 17. So you can hear about the other 11 books at www.andithoughladies.com. And yes, I'm in a good mood today, so I'm going to do it like a car salesman. www.andithoughladies.com. But you're not here to hear about me. You're here to hear about our wonderful guests. Wonderful guests. Will you like to introduce yourself? Tell us 3 or 4 things about yourself.
Wow. Well, my name is Monique Younger, and I am super impressed by that intro. That was amazing. I am a costume supervisor currently working on a project called Average Joe featuring Dion Cole. I am also a semi-designer. I do sweatshirts and t-shirts called Conafro, which celebrates natural hair and afro. And I am also a writer, screenwriter, and director and producer.
I'm sorry, you said you were a screenwriter? I want to get into casting and everything because, well, that would be cool. But I heard screenwriter. So how do you come up with ideas for writing screenplays?
I definitely take the lead from my own life. Some of the things are a little bit supernatural, but I always like to lean into things that are related to people of color. So I would like to see more representation of Black girls, Black women, positive representation from Black men on screen. So I just look to the people around me and I, kind of take real life and just magnify it a little bit. And so currently I'm actually writing a story called I Forgot to Tell You. And it's a story of a woman whose husband dies, but his spirit does not want to leave the house. And the only way he can communicate with his family is through his mother, who happens to have Alzheimer's. So it's kind of a romantic comedy / paranormal love story about a Black family.
So what does it take to take a screenplay and make it into a movie or a television show?
Well, what I'm doing is I am writing it as a short, and I won a grant contest, and I'm using the funds from that to finance my short film, which I hope will garner some attention and, allow me to get it picked up by a production company to create it in a wider format.
That is amazing. I hope it does get some wider attention because can I go to the premiere if it gets wider attention? I'm joking.
Oh, absolutely. No, 100%. Look, I welcome it. Come on out.
That sounds awesome. So my next question, of course, I have to go back to the fact that you said you were casting. So that means you're more like a casting director, or you're just helping with the casting?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's costumes. I'm a costume supervisor.
Thank you.
I actually run.
This is what happens when you have a sinus infection. You can't hear a thing.
I actually run the costume department on the show that I'm on right now. I've been doing this for maybe about 8 or 9 years so far, but yeah, right now I'm on a television show. It's called Average Joe. It's starring Dion Cole. It's going to be on BET Plus, and it is a dark comedy. It's really good. I just finished a feature film called Praise This. It's a Will Packer movie starring Chloe Bailey. And it's kind of a musical, but I've done television and I bounce back and forth between television and film.
This is so sad because I've always wanted to talk to a costume person and I finally get to talk to one and I'm like, casting? So I've always wanted to know what goes into the thought of the design and the era and like the colors of what people are going to wear to represent their character.
Well, so what I do is I will read the scripts, and then my job is to break down the scripts in terms of what is each character wearing, when do they change their clothes, what happens to them in the clothing. So let's say I'm tracking each character. I'll start with the lead character. I'll read the script one time just so I can read it and see where the story is going, what kind of story it is. And then I will read it again and I'll start doing my breakdowns, like how many characters are there? How many changes does it look like they have? And then I'll go back again and I'll say, well, what happens to each character in each change? And is it like an action movie? And do they have a lot of stunts that has to happen? So do they need multiples of that point? How distressed will their clothes be? I did Vampire Diaries. I've done this movie called Cop Shop. So I've done stuff where it's like there'll be a lot of bloody, clothes. There might be a killing or there might be some kind of accident or something. And then I will say, okay, well, this accident happened. So we need to have like at least 3 sets of clothes. So in case the director needs to do the shot over again a couple of times, and we need to have a clean set still available. And then we need to have a stunt set for when the stunts take over and those kind of things. So that's where I lead. And then I also do the budget. So how much money do we have to spend per episode? I mean, like if it's an episodic, how much money do we have to spend per episode? Or if it's a movie, how much can we spend per change? And then I hire the crew, meaning like my truck costumers, my set costumers, my PAs. And then the designer is the person who will actually decide, okay, what did they look like in this scene? So it's like the designer is the director and I'm the producer. So yeah, that's kind of how it works out. I have designed before. I designed a PSA called "Get Your Booty to the Poll," which was out the last presidential election, trying to encourage people to go out and vote. And so I designed the outfits that the dancers wore for that. But yeah, I do a lot more of the producing end than I do the designing end.
Oh my goodness. You said "Get Your Booty to the Poll," and I went, "Oh, that's an Atlanta movie for sure." And then he went voting, and I was like, "Oh, see."
Well, it was a PSA done by a director here in Atlanta, and it featured a lot of exotic dancers, and they were on the pole and whatnot. And so we dressed them in like 1950s clothes, and then we dressed them in today in their floss, is what we call it, their dancer wear, their floss.
Nice. So, of course, I have to ask, how does your screenwriting and your costume design help you and come together to complement each other?
Well, actually, what's great is that because I have worked in costumes for so long, it kind of gives me, I have a hand in every department, So as a supervisor, I'm always in meetings with the executives and producers. I'm always in meetings with other departments like special effects and stunts and props and all of the people that are needed to make things happen. So it gives me an idea of what all is needed overall in terms of making things happen. It helps me being a supervisor, knowing how to budget for things that are coming up. And I think as like a writer, you need to understand that if you want to get your thing produced, you can't come out of the gate writing fast and furious because of how much money it's going to cost. So me being a supervisor gives me a really good insight into the producing end and how much things are going to cost. And as an indie producer, indie writer, you know that you're not going to be able to get something that costs $10 million done on your first time out, but you can write economically, which will encourage more people to want to, like more producers to want to work with you because you understand the budget.
I love that. Unfortunately, like I have a lot of friends who are producers. And so when I start writing, I'll be like, oh no, that costs too much. Oh no, that costs too much. Oh no, they need to stay in the same clothes. And it's so upsetting. Other people are like, why isn't it like this? And I'm like, well, I want to get it done one day, and I need to have a small budget.
Mm-hmm.
Or you keep people in the same setting for a very long time.
Yeah, the creativity actually, the limitations can sometimes spur the creativity. like with the piece that was in the grant, that is in the grant contest, we were limited to having a single location. We couldn't change the locations. So what helped me out was that I decided to set it all in an apartment, and we built that world that way. And so I know it wasn't going to take a lot of money for locations, for company moves, and for all those things. We can just build our world in this one place, and it was going to be economical, but I was still able to create a whole world and a story based in this one apartment.
So I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. Can you tell people where to find out more information about you if you want to, or to follow you on social media?
Well, on Twitter, if it's not dead, it is Cinemomo, Cinemomo. However, I am on the new Black Twitter. So the Black Twitter, I am Cinemonique, Cinemonique. And you could always go to my website, which is iconafro.com, ICONAFRO, iconafro.com. And you can see some of my sweatshirts and t-shirts, and follow my Instagram from there as well.
I just want to say, going to our website is a treat. Like when I went to your website, I was like, this is cool. And I got some
I appreciate
ideas.
That.
Yeah.
So I want to celebrate the Afro. It's so important.
Oh God, I want to wear the Afro, but my hair won't do it. It shrinks down into this cute little bob. It's like, it's a
Mine is huge. Mine is huge.
I pick it out and I'll spend hours, and they'll be like, yeah. And then the moment I leave, it's like shrink. So I'm like, never mind. I don't do the Afro. But I don't know how we got onto Afros. I'm so sorry. Let me wrap this up for me. You can find out everything that your ladies are doing at www.andithoughladies.com. You go down to the middle of the page, not the bottom of the page, the middle of the page, and you can see the charities that we proudly support. We ask that you give them a little time and attention too. It doesn't have to be money. It could be just, information that that could be helpful. And we thank you in advance for that. And we just remember that wisdom is all around you if you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona and the Missing Jade. Oh yeah. Bye-bye, and thanks for listening.